Hello there. Once again, you decide to take another revealing peek back into history.
What famous date shall I set it to today?
Once again, it's time for Throwback Thursday, a second chance to look at some truly awful podcasts. No, wait, a second chance to see how far Vicis Interimo has come over the last 8 years. New episodes will be released pretty much weekly, but Thursdays I've reserved for throwbacks to see how far we've come. A lot of the information on here no longer applies, whether that be businesses or links that may not work anymore, so be advised of that. But again, I want to thank the patrons that we have at this time, though they may not have been here the first time these episodes were recorded. I am thanking them again because they're helping us move forward with our new episodes. And those are patrons such as at Lonely Bob, Big Al V, and Goldafish. In the meantime, I hope that you enjoy what you hear.
Because we do it to each other when we're not recording.
Welcome to 30 Minutes to Kill. Welcome to Vicis Interimo, 30 Minutes to Kill. This is episode 19. Today's movie review is Ghost of Mars. But before that, we're going to jump right into our Laid to Rest segment where we take care of old business and so on. This, I guess, is the least favorite part of the show, is from what you said last time, huh, Lori?
It can be.
Okay.
Maybe it'll be exciting today.
Maybe not.
It'll be different.
It will be different. Amongst other things, I want to thank the supporters of the show that have been showing up. We're gaining a few more fans there on our Facebook fan page. Not a lot, but that's okay. I'd rather have quality people than just a large quantity of people adding for no reason.
Slow and steady.
Slow and steady is a way to grow it. Good deal. What, do you have anything that you want to take care of? I think you had something you were supposed to get back to us about this episode.
Really? Well, the last episode, it was something that I talked about in a different segment.
Yep. But what was that you were supposed to get back to? Let us know.
Well, I'm not sure I was really supposed to or not, but I talked about a book I was reading, I Never Promised You a Rose Garden. Mm-hmm. And I think we were wondering if the author of that book was still around. And as far as I can tell, I did a little research online, and she's still around.
Okay.
So I can't find anywhere that she's passed. So
okay.
I also found something else interesting because, of course, it's like one of the most famous novels written about someone with schizophrenia, and of course it was actually the author who wrote it. She was writing about herself, but I read that a few different psychiatrists and psychologists have read the book, and when they take everything that she wrote about in the book and really do a diagnosis from what she wrote in her story, they think that she possibly didn't have true schizophrenia, but possibly a very severe case of depression and a couple other more minor disorders, because of course schizophrenia, that's something that's pretty tough. You can conquer it, but anyway, so yeah, modern doctors now, when they read it and look back at what she went through, they think that that's possibly not even what she was suffering from. Not that I want to take anything away from her. I mean, who knows? No one will ever know now, because it was in the 40s or 50, 47 or something.
Okay.
Anyway, I thought that was interesting.
Cool.
But yeah, she's still around. She's actually written quite a few things, so.
Cool. Okay.
That's it.
Well, what else do we have to cover? We also had one other thing to cover that I want to mention, and that is we got our first negative review on iTunes.
There's nothing about you I find tantalizing. On the contrary, I find you obvious and vulgar.
Yay!
Yay! I was going to ask you what you think about that, but I guess you just summed it up.
Well, everyone's entitled to their opinion, so good, bad, whatever. Let us have it.
Yes, let us have it. Let us know. It would have been, I think, better maybe to hit us up with it first, but it's going to come off the sour grapes if I say it that way.
It's all good.
Let me.
Well, it's all of these things. It's opinions. Everybody is so different.
Well, yeah, and here, let me read exactly what he read, because, well, it's kind of a kick in the balls to the fact that we got a 1 on the stars there. It's still, I'm excited about it, because that means that somebody other than friends and family are listening. So,
yes, there you
go. Here's what he said. He said, 1 star, and this is Ricky R. Richard, and this was on the 29th, I guess. He said, I listened to a few of their horror movie reviews. They just say whether they like the film or not, but give little or no information on what the film was about. Well, that's kind of the whole point of this show. We do try to keep it to only 30 minutes, and in my opinion, what I was looking for was a rock skimming across the lake. You know what I mean? We just touch on the movies a little bit. We're only giving a review, and a review is basically a statement of opinion on a product or a movie or a video game, whatever that might be. And that's all we're doing. It sounds like he's maybe looking for a walkthrough, and that's not what we do here. We try to avoid that.
Right.
We just touch on things that are interesting, and then, we suggest whether you see the movie or not. And but
it's kind of, like I said, it's all a matter of opinion, because when I'm deciding whether or not to go see a movie, I almost don't care what the plot, a little bit, okay, it's about a guy that went and did this thing with this other guy and this happened. Tell me, though, what were these people like? Was the
story worth seeing?
Yeah, I like a really good story, so it is about the story. But for me, if it doesn't have the characters, the character development, I like all the ambient things, the feeling, the mood of the thing. Those are the things, I love the story, I do. But, yeah, if you're going to, we've only got a little bit of time.
That's the thing. Is it worth seeing the story? It's not you want the story told to you, because then really, what's the point in going to see it? And the other thing I wonder is if he's read the show notes, or if he was even aware there's show notes. With each one of these movies that we do, I always try to make sure that on the Podomatic page there is a synopsis of the movie that we're going to talk about. So if you don't already know a little bit about it, or maybe we don't cover enough about it for you, you can always go there, or you can find it just by looking in the iTunes and clicking on the information. Like I said, I always include show notes for each one of the movies that we do, or at least I try to. So that's another thing. But look, here's the thing that I'm kind of disappointed about. This is, he gave us a 1 and he may never listen to us again. Feedback. Give us feedback. Let us change it. Let us, make this show what you're going to enjoy. So talk to us. Tell us what you'd like to see from us or hear from us. Or if you like what we're doing, go ahead and give us a positive review. But at any rate, I do actually thank him for showing up and, leaving some feedback. At least there are people out there listening to us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Well, let's move on with the movie reviews and our garbage in, garbage out segment. There's plenty to talk about there.
All right.
You can find this fine podcast, as well as many others, at pennycult.com. One podcast I'd like to recommend is check out The Dark Hours, hosted by Gray. Check out pennycult.com for a complete list of podcasts. Well, this week's movie is Ghost of Mars. And I'm sure many of you already know about this film. It's one of John Carpenter's. It's actually one of his last movies. It was his last movie up until, I believe, Ward is the next one that he's got coming out this year. So we'll look forward to seeing how that movie is. But Ghost of Mars, what's your initial thoughts on that movie, Lori?
Well, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah? There's a lot of people that don't really love it so much.
I know.
Do you know why that is?
No, I don't really, because I don't know many people who've actually seen it. The couple people who I know who've seen it love it. So, I don't know, because, I think for the most part, it's one that people go, oh, geez. It's like a Jeepers Creepers kind of thing. Like, oh, yeah, that was lame, or...
Well, I could see that it does lean heavily towards the sci-fi, and maybe people don't really include this or think of it as being a horror movie, but it is one that we chose to talk about. Mm-hmm. One thing is the spectacular cast. As far as I'm concerned, there's got a lot of people in there that I've enjoyed in other movies, and I certainly enjoy them in this movie. One of them that jumped right out at me was Joanna Cassidy, and you may have recognized her from such movies as Blade Runner or Who Framed Roger Rabbit. You think you recognized her for something else?
Oh, yeah. The first movie I ever remember really seeing her in and noting who she was the movie 1969. Okay. Mm-hmm. And
I want to say she was also the mother in 6 Feet Under.
I was just going to say she was in 6 Feet Under also.
Okay, yeah.
Mm-hmm. A lot of people know her from that.
Yeah, I definitely know and enjoy her work and stuff. So that's one of the people. But there's tons of people to choose from here. Pam Grier is another one, another person that I'm a fan of, and I enjoyed seeing her in here. I do have to ask, what's the deal with John Carpenter sticking her with, what do I want to say, transgender and a lesbian role in this one?
I don't know.
She got her just playing against type there, whatever, because of the earlier movies that she did, that she was all sexy, Cleopatra Jones.
I guess. Well, you remember her in Escape from L.A., though, right?
Yeah, exactly. Escape from L.A., where she played one of Snake's old buddies that had been through a whole different change there.
Yes.
Yeah, so I don't know why he did that with her, but they seem to be having fun with it, so that's cool.
She's great in everything.
Absolutely. Even in Jawbreaker and just Jackie Brown. There's any number of movies that I could pick that I liked her in.
Yeah, would you like to say what this movie is about?
That's a trick question, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know what? We've probably already talked about this earlier and stuff, but I mean, obviously, I usually include a synopsis right there in the show notes. And maybe that's a resource that he just didn't use or people aren't really looking at, because I always put that in there. But yeah, let's give a quick synopsis of what this is about. What is it about?
Go for it.
Me? I don't want to do it.
Don't read it off the back of the box.
Okay, well, I'm reading it off IMDb then. It's a story of human colonists who, on Mars, that must be rescued after becoming possessed by vengeful Martian ghosts.
That about sums it up. There you go. That's what the movie is about.
Thing in a nutshell. So, 200 years in the future, a Martian police unit is dispatched to transport a dangerous prisoner from a mining outpost back to justice. Outpost back to justice. But when the team arrives, they find the town deserted and some of the inhabitants possessed by the former inhabitants of the planet. And that's another one of the people that are stars in the movie, which is Ice Cube. And I gotta say, what did you think about him as Desolation Williams?
I liked him in the part.
Really?
I think so.
I just gotta say that tubby bastard didn't intimidate me at all. I'd maybe be scared if I was in a pie-eating contest with him or something, but I just wasn't buying him as a bad guy here.
Really?
Yeah, it was okay, but, the thing is, they initially hired Jason Statham, Turkish from, from Snatch, and transported any number of things. Anyhow, they initially hired him to be Desolation Williams. So I'm not exactly
really.
I'm not sure what made him change their mind and put Ice Cube in that role. But
I don't know.
I don't know. But anyhow, that was just...
That would be weird. Yeah, I'm trying to imagine them in, reverse roles or something. That would just be kind of weird.
Yeah. So, I mean, we got to see him play sort of a bad guy in War with Jet Li, I think. But, and anyhow, back to this one. the movie definitely had a sci-fi feel to it.
I know. I think it was a sci-fi movie.
Yeah. And the horror elements were there also, though, I thought.
Yeah, you have to like sci-fi. I mean, if you're just a straight horror fan, you might find yourself wondering what you're doing watching this movie, but, I mean, you have to like sci-fi. You have to.
Yeah. Do you think that's maybe where it lost it for the people of the horror industry? They just didn't want to see their monsters mixed with sci-fi, or?
Yeah, that could be. Because I know, John Carpenter fans, oh my gosh, his newest movie came out, we gotta go out and see it. And then it's like, what?
Yeah.
Not your typical horror movie.
Well,
he wrote it along with somebody else, right?
I believe so.
It was a kind of a collaboration or,
right.
So yeah, it's out of the ordinary, I think, for him. So,
well, another thing he admitted that he was kind of burned out with the filmmaking process by that time, and it was after this movie that he made the decision to leave Hollywood. Well, what he said was,
oh no, this is the film that did it for him?
No, he was burned out before that point.
Okay.
And then,
so this was the
final one. Maybe he didn't, give it his all, or maybe some people had felt that he didn't give it his all. It said that it's been 9 years since he'd make another feature film, and like I mentioned before, that was an award that should be coming out here soon. As far as that goes, I could see the complaints that people might have about the movie, but, I enjoyed it. I just did. I got into it and stuff, and yeah, it was campy and stuff. It wasn't,
yeah, it has its corny elements for sure.
Definitely. There was a few things that maybe looked like Total Recall to me. It looked like some of the models were maybe taken straight
recycled.
Maybe. But as far as the rest of it went, as far as their uniforms, the guns and what have you, it was consistent, and unlike some of the other movies that we've talked about recently, they didn't look low budget, or it was all believable for me, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. I thought there was what I really enjoyed was the part of the storytelling and stuff where it gave you the point of view from each team member, so you knew what was happening while as each section of the story was told. That worked for you too?
Oh yeah, that's actually one of the things that I really like about it. Because, they get there, they all split up, and instead of dragging it all out and following each person to do their thing, it'll just follow one person, and, they meet up with somebody, and it's like, oh my God, you'll never believe what I saw, and they start talking about what they saw, and it'll do a flashback of what they were doing while this person was doing something else, so you get a feeling, where everybody was at the time of each event.
Right.
Instead of,
Okay, we're kind of reaching our time mark at this point.
Wow.
Yeah, it goes quick. But let me ask you, what did you think about the Martians not having a dialogue or a dialect to speak?
Well, you didn't understand them?
I had a hard time understanding and making out what they were saying. I understood the piercing and,
really?
other straps and stuff, but I didn't understand the rest of it.
Okay, yeah, I didn't understand that. That was, I could see where those scenes when you finally get to see the ghosts of Mars, it's like, oh my God, what is that? And they're hollering at each other in this, I don't know. It does not sound like a language. They're just, I would do it, but I don't want to embarrass myself.
Just ice tapes from their shows.
Just because we do it to each other when we're not recording. But no, that could have been done a little differently. That would maybe be my only complaint with the monsters themselves.
Okay.
One thing I didn't understand, I remember the first time I watched this when this thing came out years ago, and I wondered it then, and I kind of forgot about it, but then I wondered it again when we watched it, was, if these organisms or whatever they are, they need to survive and they have to take over a host, so they're inside, they take over the human body. The way they manifest is just really weird. Not only with their crazy language, but like you said, all the piercings and all the body mutilation. It seems like if I was an organism and I needed a human host, I don't think I would maim the body so badly.
Right.
Because I'm thinking these human bodies are not going to stand up through time because they're going to get infected. And, I mean, they're shoving rusty, nasty metal through, through their skin and through their faces. And it's like, ooh, that's really going to get an infection. The body, the organism's going to live on. That body is not going to be living on for very long.
This is true.
So that was a problem I had.
Okay, and one of the things I was going to mention about that was you do, I believe, get a brief glimpse of the creatures in their natural form, what I assume to be their natural form, at the very end, and they kind of look like, I don't know, like I want to say they look like deep ones from Lovecraftian stories or whatever. They kind of look like fish or something. So it's a very brief scene. It's right there towards the end. I didn't roll the tape back since we were still watching this on a VHS. I didn't roll the tape back and look at it to see, get a good clear look at what they were and stuff. But
right.
Let me see. Anything else you have to say about the movie, or are you ready to give your final rating? What would you rate this movie?
I really enjoy it a lot. I'm going to give it a really strong 7.
Okay. I think that's probably what I'm going to go with, too. I'm going to say a 7 also. And it is a movie that I would recommend a multiple viewings on it, a second viewing, or maybe even a third viewing if you can set through it. Give it a little bit of time maybe. But I did talk to Jason from Horophilia, and that's one thing that he pointed out about the John Carpenter movies is all of them pretty much have really good rewatchability. And I don't think this necessarily gets the respect that it deserves, and maybe is worth another look if you haven't seen it in, say, the last 5 years or whatever. So it's a strong 7 from both of us. So any final closing words on this one?
Not really any closing words, I guess.
Okay.
There's other things I could start talking about, and it would take a long time, so... Well, I'm going to ask you how you felt about the main the actress that played the main character. Her name's escaping me. She's the one that played in Species.
Right, Natasha Henstridge.
Yeah. How did you feel about her as the main, as the strong character, the lieutenant, the leader of the...
I wasn't really buying that either. I had mixed feelings on it. She didn't sell it. I think either other characters that were in the cast maybe could have played that part a little bit better. Yeah. But having said that, I did enjoy it. So. Okay.
I actually, because she's not my favorite usually, and nor was she my favorite here either. But I actually think she really did a really good job as a strong, as like I said, as their leader, as the lieutenant.
Okay.
But she kind of rubbed me the wrong way. She had that attitude of basically anytime you come in and colonize somewhere and push out whatever was originally there, though the organisms weren't pushed out, they were sealed somehow and they were unearthed by the colonists doing blasting and whatever. Mm-hmm. So it's almost kind of like that's what you get, when you go somewhere where you don't belong.
Right.
Kind of like a classic, that's what I love about all the Godzilla movies.
Right, you're meddling in an area where you shouldn't be.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Stop poking your head in where it doesn't belong. But yeah, her towards the end there, she, when they decide they're going to fight these things and they're going to kill them all and take them all out, she says, it's about domination. It's not their planet anymore. Well, that just really bothered me. It's like, well, you guys are like, when they panned back and you could see their colony sitting there on Mars, it's like this tiny little dot.
Right.
It's a giant planet. Obviously, okay, it's not their planet anymore. It belongs to, the humans? You tiny little speck sitting there on their planet. It's yours now?
Well, it's eminent domain.
I guess.
Yeah.
But, so yeah, that's always interesting to me. That's always a story I enjoy,
Okay.
Seeing humans trying to, or whatever. I mean, it doesn't have to be just humans, does it? Especially in sci-fi.
Right, absolutely.
Anyone trying to dominate some place that doesn't belong to them, and, you end up meeting up with the original inhabitants or something that you didn't expect, and, it's pretty much, for me, I felt like, you've got that little colony there, just go home.
Okay. Well, here's one other thing that I wanted to add to this that I hadn't added yet, and that is, if you look at this is kind of a precursor to the Infected movies. There's some argument as to whether that's a zombie movie or whatever at this point. But if you think 29 days later or 28 days later rather, and so on, you don't see this as being an infection that kind of spread.
Well, then you have to talk about, zombie. What is a zombie?
Oh, no. I'm not saying it's a zombie. I'm just saying that arguably as an infection.
Well, because zombie, actually I like infection movie, but it sounds more disgusting, but, because zombie, that's just not offensive to me for some reason, but infection. But yeah, I think a lot of people now are just using zombie as a catch-all for all of these movies. And like you said, the infection, whether it's The Walking Dead like it should be, or it's some infected, crazed person that's, just wants to bite you.
Right. Okay, well, let's...
It's absolute, I guess yes is the answer.
So yeah, definitely a horror movie, definitely a precursor
but
to...
Now, okay. I'm going to just,
Okay.
I was going to say the infection happens different. These things are at least not trying to, actually it would be better if they had to bite you because then they'd have to get close to you. But the scary thing about this was that you kill one and those organisms are airborne.
Right.
So you better not be downwind or you better hold your breath or run or something. So actually that's a lot scarier.
Yeah, absolutely. So definitely a horror movie. So there you go.
Yes.
Okay.
I need another half hour.
Okay, well, we don't have that, so we'll just leave it at 7 and go from there.
All right.
Vicis Interimo, proud member of the Penny Cult podcasting family. Also, from Penny Cult, check out the Obscure 80s Rewind. You can find them at obscure80s.com or just check out the pennycult.com webpage. Welcome back for our Garbage In, Garbage Out segment. And we'll just jump right in here. What did you think of House of the Devil, which we watched the other night?
Oh, I didn't know you were going to ask me that.
Yep.
I liked it okay. It was very slow.
Mm-hmm.
Which normally those two things don't go together for me, liking it a lot and it being slow. But, I don't know. I found it, it was just really slow and really subtle, but something about it I enjoyed watching that girl walk around the house, and man, it dragged on forever, but I found something intriguing about her, I guess.
Yeah, and I think it worked as a period piece. I think that helped also.
Yes.
I think, if that was done present day, which sounds silly since it's only, 20 years ago or what have you.
Well, you know what? It's funny because I find that horror movies that are made now that feature teenagers, mm-hmm. I can't relate to them. I'm not a teenager of this century, or even of the 90s. You know what I mean? So, I can relate to watching this girl, though I guess she had started college, so she was like a 20-year-old.
Yeah. But
yeah, it was like that was my era, I was that age, and that was, so it was kind of cool.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I find a lot of teenage horror movies now, they're just irritating to me. I cannot stand listening to them talking or doing stuff or, nothing against teenagers. Got lots of nieces and nephews. They're all teenagers, but yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
movies always portray what movies show as typical teenagers.
Yeah.
And they make them very annoying, but...
I got that. What else is there anything else that you've been, not really, you've been studying hard for that test this week, huh?
Yeah.
That's it? Okay, well, I did tons of learning, tons of garbage in, I don't know.
Tons of learning, cool.
Well, absolutely. Actually, I found some really interesting things that I want to talk about, and I'll try to be brief. One of them is the podcast called For Good Reason, and it's a skeptic podcast, and I had actually gone there to listen. This is going to maybe sound weird, maybe it won't. The magician James Randi, came out of the closet this past month or whatever. So I had happened to go to the website to hear about that, and as some of you may or may not know or care, he is one of the foremost skeptics out there, and he has his own the James Randi Foundation. And there's $1 million prize for anybody that can prove that they have psychic abilities and stuff. So anyhow, I went there to hear this, and I wound up hearing another podcast on the same For Good Reason. And this was by Lionel Tiger, and I don't know whether that guy's mom and dad just watched too much Thundercats, but I'm not buying that name. But at any rate, the guy's name is Lionel Tiger, and he did a book called God's Brain. And it's an interesting, definitely it sounds like a very interesting podcast because it talks about religion from a biological standpoint. And he pointed out that for those atheists who are out there that think that that believing in the Bible or that having faith in a higher power, anything of that nature is just, it's silly and ridiculous, or it shows that you have below average intelligence. Well, as he pointed out, that's maybe 90 to 98% of the population, because every culture has some form of religion just throughout the entire world. And so he looks at it from a biological reason and what happens when people are in church and so on. So I think it would be something that would be good whether you're a skeptic or a deeply religious or just a spiritual person. I think that would be something worth listening to. Or it could be. If it sounds like something you're interested in, I'm going to put that in the show notes. So be sure to go there. What else did I enjoy? I enjoyed Blackadder on CD. All those episodes were, I was obviously on a British kick. I got Fawlty Towers last week.
I was going to say, what's up with that?
And the one that I just finished today was A Scanner Darkly by Philip K. Dick, the author of Blade Runner and, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, and several other movies, books that I won't go into. But A Scanner Darkly, it's really a great book, and it's read by Paul Giamatti, and it was done in this recording, at least that I was listening to, was done in 2006, right about the time the movie came out. I got to say, the movie really captured the spirit of the book. And while I'm not a head case myself, I really don't feel like I need to be one after this because, wow, he lays everything out for you. It was written while in the late 60s, early 70s. But he had his fourth wife had left him, and he had a 4-bedroom house where he moved in some street people. Got involved in drugs, and anybody that knows him knows that he had a lot of emotional problems, and sometimes that comes through in the writing. In particular, and I may play a segment from the book of the author's notes here, where you can hear what he has to say about it. But
author's note. This has been a novel about some people who were punished entirely too much for what they did. They wanted to have a good time, but they were like children playing in the street. They could see one after another of them being killed, run over, maimed, destroyed, but they continued to play anyhow. We really all were very happy for a while, sitting around not toiling, but just bullshitting and playing. But it was for such a terrible brief time. And then the punishment was beyond belief. Even when we could see it, we could not believe it. For example, for a while, I myself was one of these children playing in the street. I was, like the rest of them, trying to play instead of being grown up, and I was punished.
What else? I got a chance to listen to The Mail Order Zombie. That's another good podcast that you should check out. They reviewed the Resident Evil series this past episode, with their April 1st episode, and that was quite enjoyable. I'll let you hear exactly what they had to say about it there. But definitely look them up. And, of course, check out the Horophilia. The Wishmaster episode is finally up, where they trounce the Splattercast soundly, I'd say. But that's up for interpretation, so you guys go ahead and check that out. Anything else to add before we sign off?
I don't think so.
Thanks for listening.